bring you guys up here. It's Thursday. It's a snow day. And what else? Yeah, I'm bringing it up for comments and whatnot. So we can see comments. Okay, for those people that haven't done this before, this is much more fun to do live. Please join live. If at all possible. That way I can answer questions and whatnot. What we have on the bench today is I happen to have here a crank that came for me from Brian Ploost in Vermont. Brian is a parts supplier extraordinaire. So if you guys want to check him out, all you got to do is contact him if you need something. BPLUST on arboristsite.com. That's his handle is BPLUST, Bplust at Arborist site at their on their website. That's his handle. Hey Tom, good morning. Good morning. So what I got to do is I actually this has still stuff on it, so we're going to take this. We have to take the bearing off is the big thing here. So let's dismantle this, and then we'll get to actually clean it up, and then we'll get to the assembly. I hope. Morning, Jonathan. So I'm looking at this crank and saying it's shiny. Okay, so as long as this is still press fit, it's fine. Because sometimes if you spin a bearing, it's no longer press fit. Morning, Harry. Jonathan. Alright, I'm going to take that off, which means I got to get rid of this. This for the moment. We did the case halves the other day. Now it's just a matter of getting the. I've been waiting on the crank, so. Gotta get the piston off. Now these clips in here don't have handles on them, so you have to grab them with your John Riley pliers. So I move it around. Until it's easier to grab an end. And this one. So I got the end. There we go, and just rotate out. Nothing wrong with saving these. These are Stihl OEM circlips. So as long as I don't bend them. I can get the other one out later, but again, I'm just rotating it around because these things don't have handles. I know, the purpose of salvaging the circlip. There. So these pliers have been ground. I've got tiny, tiny little half moons ground into each side, so it grabs the circlip perfectly. 9 people watching this morning. Oh, I wonder if I should use this wrist pin too. Maybe. The piston's kind of whooped. I mean, it's not scored, but overall it looks like it's seen better days. Let's see. Oh, I'm moving it. Okay, good. Just use a punch, essentially. It's coming. Another thing I should. This one's thin. Wrist pin itself is thin. Hey, Thomas. Morning. 11 people. Who else is here? Okay, these we save and potentially use. Now we gotta get the bearing off of here. But I want to show you something. Okay, so this is the clone bearing. This is an OEM bearing, but this bearing is whooped too, so you definitely wouldn't use this again. But here's the bushing. So the bushing, similar to a 372, same idea. Basically, the bushing goes in there, and the bushing increases the diameter for, I think, the oil pump worm. But it seals, the bushing itself seals against the rubber, and the flat seals against the inner race and against the crank, all at the same time. This is like a triple seal. I disagree with the design. So I'm using the OEM Husky bearing, where the seal is already made for you. You just got to pull the crank through. So, I've had that discussion before. We've gone over that before. We're going to go over it again, I'm sure, but that's kind of where my brain goes with that. John Lean, good morning. Merry Christmas. Got to clean up this bushing, but I'm going to show you, instead of using this bushing, I'm using another one. I think the aftermarket one that I machined differently, and we're going to take some measurements here in a little bit. Okay, but let's see if we can get this bearing off of here. That is the next thing to do. And the piston's really whooped. I'm just going to call it on that. If you use that piston for another however many hours, you'd end up with a piston slap. You don't want. Okay. So now we put all this stuff away. Oh no, I'm not running out of orange saws. They're just all fixed. It's the Stihl ones that are busted. So I got the 660 going together fairly soon. I've got Rattler just shipped me that head and the 262 head. So in order to do this, you need a bearing puller. Okay. So if you remove the crank from the cases. You can actually separate the case halves with just heat, but what happens often is the bearing will stay on the crank, so then you need a puller. So either way, you need specialized material to, or specialized tools to do a case split. That's really what it comes down to, is that there are indeed specialized tools to do case splits, and you're going to be using specialized tools one way or another. Now, I've tried this without, just with heat, so heat up the bearing and try to pry it off. No, it doesn't work. And you're also lucky, even if you can get it this way, you're still kind of lucky, if you will. So I may need to actually grind on the bearing so that this piece gets a better bite. So this is the Harbor Freight bearing puller kit. I've used this a number of times. It works quite well. Don't have any particular issue with it. The biggest thing is you got to get a good bite on that bearing. If you do, you're fine. If you don't, you got to grind on the bearing sometimes to get the bite. And you can heat this up if you want to. Sometimes it's easier if you do heat it. So it slipped, so it did not get a good enough bite under the bearing. The bearing, they don't give lots of room under the bearing. So if you don't get a good bite, it ain't happening. So that's easy, just pull this. So this is pretty sharp, and I've sharpened this actually over the years, but it still kind of dulls and whatnot, so just need to get it right. All right. So get out the grinder. Let me send a link here. Morning, Craig. Chat here. There we go. Hey, Brandon. Morning. Stihl man. What's going on? So essentially, I've got to grind under here on the underside of the bearing, so you can get grip. You need to grind space. Hang on. I guess if you get really ambitious, you can grind slots even. There's a little more space for the grab. And then go to the other side. There's space there. So again, a little bit of extra space just so the grabber can grab. You could grind a slot there and a slot there on the other side too. Just an idea. Now take the grinder or the and make sure it's sharp, you know. Remember, this is not the space shuttle, you know? This is a $40 puller from Harbor Freight, not the space shuttle. So make sure the edges are kind of sharp, that way they get under the bearing. Maybe I gotta make more space. Who knows? Maybe we'll do the slot idea. So yeah, all we're doing is pulling off the bearing here. That's all we got to do. And then I have an OEM crank to use on this 440 big bore. you still have to grab it. That's the thing is, 2 or 3 jaw, it doesn't matter. You still have to grab it. Where's the 2 or 3 jaw going to grab? There's no space. There's no space between the bearing and the crank lobe to grab. And it's getting under there. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so that's actually moving. So just to show you the close-up here of what actually is happening. See that right there. So you can see that this is grabbing underneath the bearing, and there's just almost no space between the bearing and the crank. There's just no space to actually grab the, except to grab it effectively with a knife edge, which is exactly what this is doing. It's wherever you can grab, though. Even if you have a 2-jaw puller, it still needs to get under the bearing. That's the thing. 2-jaw, 3-jaw puller, it doesn't matter. Like, a 2-jaw puller. Well, that's not going to pull anything because you can't. This is not going to grab under the bearing. There we go. Boop. Done. That's crusty. Okay. How's that? Ta-da! Okay. Put all this out of the way. So now we can do a little bit of cleanup on the crank here and install it right in the saw. It's all about physically grabbing that bearing. If you can grab it, you got it. Back to having a bench here. We'll make sure this is nice and clean, and we'll play, I guess. I don't know. See, we have a bench now. Morning, William. Sorry I couldn't stay on earlier. Put the crank. There it is. This is an OEM 440 crank, 12 millimeter, not easy to find. I've gone through, on this particular chassis, I've gone through 3 cranks now that are the aftermarket ones. And I don't know why, but just ran through them. So we're going to try an OEM one. Now we're going to stress this one a little bit more than normal because we're doing a big bore and we're doing a hybrid. So this is by far beyond the realm of where this was ever intended to be as far as strength goes, you know, or stresses go. Now we're talking. Make sure this is nice and washed out and clean. Hey, Will. Yeah, I blew up the hybrid. Well, I didn't. The piston is sort of okay. The head's sort of okay. Yeah, the crank basically wiped out again. So we're going to keep fiddling with this darn hybrid until it works. Nice and smooth. Yep, the one I just boarded, yeah. I got about 10 cuts out of it until it stopped giving compression because the big end bearing went on the crank. So check the cage, make sure the cage is good. No cracks, smooth. No vertical play. It's fine. Okay. So now, let's get our fish paper. Start pulling things together. So here's the opportunity to see how the crank tools work for anybody that hasn't seen how these work. This is the opportunity. Fish paper. There we go. So here is the PTO side, new case. Make sure it's clean and degreased. On the sealing surfaces. So I can't guarantee we're going to get a pop today, but kind of hoping, you know, kind of hoping. So this bearing has been driven flush there, and there indeed is a step here. So I'm going to drive this all the way in to the PTO side, and we're going to do it cold with my tools. So for those people that haven't seen that before. Okay, so you basically put the crank in, you know, at best you can. Now we need some tools. Need a handle. Need an M12 rod. Need a large sleeve. I do sell this as a kit. Yeah, this is the one with the Husky bearing. So this is a Husqvarna bearing, for anybody that's wondering. So what you do, you take your M12 rod, right on just like that. So the preface to this is the bearings have got to be properly positioned in the crankcase first. The cases are clean, they're dry, they're flat, they're all prepared, ready to go. So, rod on, sleeve on. So all the way in, back off a half turn or so. Nut and washer. So now all you're doing is basically pulling the crank into the bearing. That's all you're doing here. You're just going to pull the crank very slowly and gently into the bearing. You can lose a little bit of oil if you want to. Post the part number for the, I'll get, it's right here. Right here. So this is the 346 XP bearing, but there's another modification we're going to do, and it's to the bushing, but I'll explain that in a bit. So this is a 346 XP PTO side bearing. The reason I'm using the Husky bearing is A, to try it and see if it works. B, the seal is already made for me. It's at the factory. It's already sealed. I don't have to worry about that bushing sealing it, or the seal I put in later, which may or may not pucker. I don't have to worry about any of that. I don't like these. These are proprietary bearings. I don't like them. As a general rule, I hate proprietary bearings. But I also hate getting pigeonholed into using a particular part for something. So this is basically a proof of concept that you can use a Husky part in a steel chainsaw if you needed to, you know. Does it work? I think it's going to work fine. Don't have a guarantee, but I think it's going to work fine. Okay, so now all you're doing is you're going to pull the crank into the bearing. That's all this is designed to do. 21 people watching this morning. The Stihl PTO side. The Stihl PTO bearing is indeed proprietary. There is an aftermarket option. Okay, so just crank down on the nut. Anybody that wants these set of tools, they can contact me. They can email me. It's okay, William. All good. I have sets of tools. I'm out of stock for the next week or two, but we will be getting tools probably right after Christmas. See, so you just keep cranking this in nice and slow. Now I'm going to, again, the bearing is properly positioned in the case, and you're going to pull the crank all the way to the hub, essentially. It will stop against the bearing. You just, that's it. You don't need to do any more. Okay? Reverse it. and undo everything. Now you don't, by the way, you don't have to. You can actually leave this all nice and tight. Craig Timmons does that. He's on right now. I'll credit him with that idea. I'm just going to pull stuff off just for convenience sake. But if you wanted to leave it on, you certainly could. So, huge benefit here is that you the seal is already made for you. So that was done at the factory. You don't even have to worry about that now. Now we just have to modify the bushing so the depths are correct. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like here in a minute. Okay, so now that that's in, now we can go and look at the other side. Husky bearing is about 35 bucks, yeah. So here's the flywheel side. Now what I like to do, if you've got positioning pins, I like to use the positioning pins on the flywheel side and then basically goop this side, then goop that side, then put the gasket on and put it together. That's kind of my process for doing this. Again, let's make sure this is clean and degreased. Yeah, Craig, we have found a rule to that. So if you end up with large bearings, then you use the large, on the flywheel side, large bearings, large sleeve. Small bearings, small sleeve. But, because you can mushroom the small sleeve, there is an exception to that. There is an exception to that rule, and it's the 064, 066. So with the 8mm flywheel nut. And the reason is because those actually have 6203 bearings, but you still use the small sleeve. And you have to go back to my video and watch that. I do explain that. Okay. 24 people watching. Who's here? Joy Boy. Stupid Snow. Yeah. So this is 3 Bonds 1184. A thin layer over bare metal. Now, one nice thing about this stuff, you can let it sit. It's not a big deal. You need to go take a phone call right now. Fine, go take a phone call. You're not worried about this stuff, and you're not worried about heating something up and cooling something down and losing a differential and, you know, somebody starts yelling at you for whatever reason. So I happen to do the flywheel side first, usually if my positioning pins are in the flywheel side. Then I'll go and do the PTO side. Now I did change this bearing out. We did this in another video from the other day in case anybody missed it. So the Husky bearing here is in the PTO side, and I have a Natchy in the flywheel side. Not that the flywheel side matters as much, but again, we've got a pretty robust piece here because we're doing a big bore hybrid. So it may have, it may not have anything for power, you know, who knows? But if it does, the bottom end is going to be barely up to the task anyway. These bearings are small. They're not the 6203s, the robustness of a 660 or a 394, 395. So you want to get this on, cover the bare metal, let it tack. Super important are the edges, the corners up here. Now I've ground on this case to make space and room for the big bore components, which you really need to do. Again, different video from the other day. Do you really need to use 3-bond? Breakfast beans. Using a Husky, this is a Natchez over here. I prefer to use saws that have Natchez 6202s or Natchez 6203s. Like, so an ideal saw for me would be a 394, 395. It uses the same bearing, 6203s and 6203s, both sides, and the same seal, both sides. I have a hard time with anybody that tries to make a case for anything different. I'm a pain in the neck like that. I like consistency. So you can also use 3-bonds 1184, or excuse me, you can Loctite's 518 for this as well. The 518 stuff, which is anaerobic sealer. You can do that. The thing that I found with the anaerobic is it does not cure very fast. So you got to give it like 24 hours for it to cure before you pop the saw, you know. Both bearings 395 were no. I like to use saws that have bearings that are the same on both sides. So having a proprietary bearing on this and a regular bearing, I'll call it, drives me crazy. This is not my preferred saw to use. I'm doing this for fun, for the heck of it, all that stuff, but definitely not my preferred saw. Ideal saws would be a 357, 359, or 394, 395. And the reason is because they have the same seal on both sides and the same bearings on both sides. That makes the most sense to me. That makes sense to you guys? It's just a preference that I have, you know. Right. So this actually, this technically, you could use this to get rid of the dumb O-ring design on 372 also, but I'm not going to get into that right now. We'll play with that one day. Jersey Josh, you seen a guy selling the Fibertech hybrids? You know, if you want like a sweet saw that is probably Pharmatech, then look up John Riley's channel. He comes on here every now and again. But John Riley's got some sweet stuff that he builds. He builds some of the Chinese stuff, but builds it with a lot of OEM components and kind of like what I'm doing here. And he does some really nice builds, and it seems to me like he doesn't charge nearly that much money. So yeah, $350 for a port job is not out of the question. The rest of it is in question. But yeah, have used ceramic bearings. I have ceramic bearings in one saw. I don't think it makes a hoot of difference. There's an interesting thread on that on, I think, OPE forum. Doc Al was mentioning that. I read that the other day. So here's your case gasket. Here's hoping I have enough Loctite here. Okay, we're gooped up on this side. We're gooped up on that side. We've got our gasket. Got everything that we need. Now we can finally put this together. Oh, finally. Okay. All right, now you need a flywheel side rod. This particular saw is the entire reason why we have really small sleeves. It's because the seal pocket over here is like 19 millimeters. It's tiny. So, small sleeve goes on, small handle. Yeah, I don't see $300 being out of the realm of reasonable for port work. Personally, I think it's a little light even. Um, you start getting into the realm of I think it's risky to do port work. I mean, you guys see how much time I'm putting into this type of stuff. It's kind of nuts. And for port work, you can spend a lot of time. You know, how much is R&D worth, et cetera, et cetera. It kind of gets silly. And I don't think that ultimately most people make money with porting. I don't see the money in it. You know what I mean? Okay, so make sure your positioning pins are lined up. And you can use a ratcheting wrench for this and just slowly bring the case halves together. For the risk that's involved with port work, I think personally I think $300-400 is a little bit light. I think the guy should be charging more. I don't actually think it's worth more. Do you see what I'm saying? I've always thought that this saw work really ends up being a terrible labor of love, and the guys that do a nice job and are doing their level best are just simply not getting paid enough. I mean, one bolt comes loose and the whole thing eats itself, and then what do you do? So you can see how this is coming together nicely. Handles here, just to show you guys. If anybody wants a set of these tools, just let me know. One of the advantages to this set, you don't have to use an open-ended wrench to keep going back and forth and back and forth. And that's a pain in the neck. You have this hand free, you have a handle here, and you can use a ratchet just to ratchet it down. It goes together nice and evenly. You bring it together, and it stops. And that's it. That's all that you do. Reverse it. Now I gotta find the case bolts because I don't even know where they are. All the I sell the kit. You can so a general, what I would call a main kit, does about 90% of the saws that I work on, maybe more. Main kit's $180 shipped. You get 4 of these rods, 2 sleeves, nuts and washers. You can do like all kinds of stuff with that kit. Pretty cool. All right, case bolts next. Looks good all the way around. Nothing puckered or anything like that, you know. Yeah, the only thing I've got good stock on just about everything. The only thing I'm missing are these flywheel side rods. I had 80 of them made recently, and I'm out. I've sold that many tools. Everybody's happy. Just everybody's super happy with these things. What an incredible adventure this has been with the tools. I've had so much fun, and just all kinds of good feedback from people. I've met people, you know, just all kinds of nifty stuff. I think these are the case bolts. Don't remember. One, two, three, four, five. Again, these are already Loctited. There we go. So yeah, $180 shipped. If somebody wants to email me, here we go. I'll put my email in here, matty05@aol.com. So the O is letter O, not a number. So mattyO5@aol.com. That's my email. If anybody wants tools, it's the #1 way to support the channel. That, and there's a link in the description of my bolt for bolt videos. That's for HL Supply. That's my affiliate link. And if anybody wants to support the channel, they can just go click on that link, and basically anything you buy from HL Supply, I get credit for. So that's really the best way to support the channel. Shin Yokoyama. How much of the whole set disassemble? Well, disassemble is different. I don't do disassembly tools. If you want to take apart a saw, then usually you need a splitter. And you can actually, so this is a case splitter, a clamp style case splitter. You can get these at HL Supply as well. But I don't sell these specifically. I just sell the assembly tools. Both Husky and the Chinese company Huzzle do a pretty nice, the aftermarket company Huzzle, do a pretty nice job with the case splitter. So I don't need to worry about selling something like that. What people don't do are these crank tools. So the crank tools, if you want to have them, yeah, you come through me for sure. Once you get the tools, it will completely just change the way that you look at chainsaws. You're going to look at chainsaws and be like, I'm going to split that. 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 Your builds improve in such a huge way because everything's just, you're going to have brand new bearings and seals on everything. The bearings and seals and gaskets are just not that much more expensive. It costs a little bit of time to get this apart and back together, but the confidence that you have from putting this back together and knowing, hey, I've got new bearings and seals and whatnot, that's enormous. Main reason why I enjoy your channel: honest, transparent, friendly, and a true enjoyment for saws. Labor of love. Wanted to buy it. Oh yeah. That 394 was nice. That 394 was nice. He ran off. He probably didn't. I think he had. I think he had remorse for posting it. That's probably what happened. I think that's Junkyard, if I remember right, and I don't think he might actually come around on here. So if you see him, I think that's Junkyard on here. So you'll see if he's on, you can contact him. Shin, you have to email me. Craig, you're now moderator for the day. Can you post my information? All right. Shin, I posted my email above, so you can see that. But hopefully Craig can post it again if he's listening still. Yeah, I think RP81, I think that's Junkyard on the channel. Great guy to talk to. I have not heard from him in a while, but if he shows up again, then, he might show up on here as Junkyard. I think that's who has that saw. It was a really nice saw. He was trying to sell it for some reason, And then I think he had seller's remorse on that, so he probably took it down. Five bolts. Okay. Now what? I don't know. What do we do here? So start pulling apart the other stuff here, I guess. So the old case here. Thanks, Craig. Craig, can you find the link for HL Supply? Do you happen to have that as well? Right, so what should we do next? The oil thing would be a good thing to do. Oil dip tube. Alright, I should put all this stuff away here. No, it's not that many ampersands. That's just to avoid spam. Get rid of the extra ampersands. Just a single Mattio5@AOL.com. The thing is, like, computer bots will pick up on stuff, and they'll pick up on that, and then I'll get lots of spam. So I didn't fully pull apart this other saw, so. The oil tube in. Yeah, the thing is, running ported saws, you just kind of get really used to it, and you go back to something that's stock, and you're just like, ugh, really? Yeah, Craig, Craig posted the email there. Just look at it there. Like I said, I'm out of stock until after probably Christmas time, maybe the New Year. I don't know, but I will be getting more. I have. Well, let's see, show you guys. I have a bunch of sleeves, just to show you guys I'm not messing around. And I've got buckets. I get buckets of rods and just buckets. Okay, there's the oiler piece. Not even gonna put the goop on that. Don't even worry about it. Next is. Sorry, guys. This is not a cooking show. I am not super organized. Here's the oiler. Okay. No, I don't mess around with that type of stuff. With the yeah, I just don't. I'm not a really heavily modded saw guy. I just want to get some stuff that's good running. Rebuild some saws for people. Salvage some saws that are on the brink of certain death. And hang out with you guys. That's kind of what I want to do. I love hanging out with you guys. I don't need to be in competition or anything like that. I'm going to learn stuff with you guys. So, now I'm going to show you what I modified and why. So let's look at this. Put this down to the side for a moment. I gotta pull the remaining rubber off of here, but whatever. Caliper out. This is very, very important. So this is the steel bushing. Let's see. Here's the steel bushing that goes in the PTO bearing, like that. Okay. Now this is a Stihl OEM bearing. FAG, made by FAG, so Stihl OEM bearing. And what's the distance here? .29 millimeters plus a little bit. So crusties. Okay. So let's see. So here's Stihl OEM bearing. This is the clone bearing, and then this I think is a Farmertech clone bearing as well, but this one didn't come in the saw. This one did. This one was the old one I had in the saw. So if you put it in here. Same distance, just over 29 millimeters. Put it in here. One millimeter shorter. Hang on a second, boys and girls. Nine millimeters. 10 millimeters. So I had this problem before. 10 millimeters height. 10 millimeters height. The correct one is 9 millimeters. So, talking about the actual depth of just the inner race. And I had this problem on a prior saw. I could not get the E-clip on after I put all the clutch and everything on. The E-clip wouldn't go on. It was because the inner race was too thick. So I'm kind of hoping that I did the right measurement on this particular saw. We'll find out. So letter O, Shin. And with 1 ampersand at AOL.com. So anyway, I took off the bushing. I took off 3 millimeters off of here to compensate for the distance in depth. That's what I did. We're going to find out if that was correct or not, or if I only should have taken 2. But we don't need the bushing for the seal. This one, on this style you do, but on this we don't because the seal is already there with the Husky bearing. Make sense so far? All right, so let's pull, what other stuff do we have on here? The studs. So you're going to pull the studs out, the rubber out. Don't know how to do these rubber things. Do we just pop them this way? Yeah, okay, I guess you just pop them that way. Yes, but again, the reason I posted with the extra ampersands is that way I don't have bots that pick up on my email address. Can you delete your post? That's why I don't post the correct. I don't type in the correct one because I have bots that pick up on it, computer bots, and then they actually spam my email. Thank you. You're correct. Thank you. I just don't want too much spam. Okay. Thanks. So we got to pull this stuff out of here and then transfer it over to the other. So all this stuff here There's an O-ring there that got buggered. Because that's kind of out of round. That might be why. Alright, now I got to pull these off. Now sometimes, I don't know if I put these in super tight or what. One way to do this is double nut these, which I might end up doing, but let's see if the studs come right out. If they do, then no. I'm going to have to double nut this. That sounds good. Yeah, it'll be a late Christmas. I'm sorry that it's going to be late, but that's the best I can do. So you double nut this and pull the stud out. Always putting stuff away, pulling stuff out, pulling stuff away, pulling stuff out. Can't get the stud out, I gotta go buy new studs, which isn't really the end of the world either, but there we go. Wow, that's kind of a long one, huh? Okay. What a mess this becomes, huh? Just a touch of Loctite. Put in the new one. Oh. Great. Mad. I was supposed to screw it down before I undid it, but I didn't do that. Oops. Doesn't have to be super tight. Good. Now I can switch this. There we go. Go. There's one stud. Let's get the other. So as this goes along, this is going to get faster and faster and faster, I hope. I want to see if the head will actually fit on this thing. It almost feels like I gotta hit these with the die. That's perfect, Craig. Yeah, if everybody goes and clicks on that link tracks you for like a month, and so whatever you buy on HL Supply, I get credit for. So hugely appreciated if you guys go do that. So again, double nutted. There. Yep. There you go. think that's fairly well stripped at this point. And now, I mean, the case half might be okay, it might not, but I'm just going to toss it. Forget it. Just, I don't know if something's off with those case halves, and that's why the cranks went, but I'm just going to, goodbye. Okay, so now, so 20 people watching. Who's here? Who else is here? What's today? Thursday? Some random Thursday? There. O-ring there, I wonder. What else could I use as an O-ring? I might have another O-ring that's similar, but that would be out in the shed. So, what would it be? Do I have parts? I got parts, parts. O-ring. My O-ring assortments are out in the shed. Alright, so I won't worry about that for now. Let's see about the oiler and what happens there. So yeah, the link just goes to HL Supply. Anything you buy there now, I get credit for. So if the tool there, my crank tools, I only sell through me as of right now. If you want the assembly tools, they come directly through me, so you email me. The case splitter you can get at HL Supply, or you can get it at your regular Husqvarna dealer if you want the OEM one. Does that make sense? So the bushing goes on there, and it just sits there. That's all that does. Cool. Yeah, the link to HL Supply again is just my affiliate link, and you can. I'm going to put this together here just to not lose it. You basically go there and get stuff if you want. Your call on that. There's a teeny tiny little O-ring that goes under here. Don't know how necessary it is, but the whole thing is not smooth either way. So, whatever. Let's see. That just goes in there. That just goes in there. That makes that easy. Okay, so the bushing that I machined goes down here and sits on the inner race. That will guide the oiler pinion. Now let's make sure the oiler works. Yep, that's fine. So the oiler just sits down in there just like that. Does it fit? Oh, sure it do. Now I just need to find the screws for the oiler. Which don't look like they're here for some reason. They're in the other spot. Jesus, do you have live tearing apart at 200? Oh yeah, well, alive. Probably. I have the bolt for bolts on the 200T. I have a lot of bolt for bolt on 200T. Still, oh, 44, I need to split the case, put back together while watching this live stream. If you want to see how I split it, that was a previous live. It would be a week ago or two or whatever. Okay, so we got the bushing on there. Got the oiler. That's perfect. So that sits on there perfectly. Let's worry about getting the... Well, I guess I don't have to worry about getting the chain brake on yet. We can worry about that in a little bit. I need to get the oiler bolt down. You guys are messing me up. Don't mess me up. Right, and I always forget this darn part on the oiler. Always forget this stupid thing. This rubber piece goes on the end of the oiler. It's an end cap. That's all it is. Come on. Ah, it should just freaking fall into there. There. Just an end cap, a rubber end cap. It's nearly meaningless. All right. So all these bolts are the same, I think. These little bolts. So these are the oiler bolts. Just cute little oiler bolts. M4 with T27. Yeah, so if you've never split a crankcase, I firmly believe after I've done how many rebuilds? I don't know, guys. How many rebuilds have I done? 100? Tear all this stuff down, bring it all back. Maybe 100. I don't know. But I've done enough rebuilds that it's like just about everything needs to be split. I've come to that conclusion. Like just about everything here needs to be split. So I remember a time when I was just questioning myself, was like, oh, should I split it? Should I not? I don't know. And eventually, once you have the tooling, you're just like, everything needs to be split. Just cuz. And that's probably closer to correct, you know? Just about everything actually needs split. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't counted lately, you know? So I've got this piston here. Oh, you know what I need to do before I put that in? Just take the tabs off here with a knife. Tight. Actually looked like that wrist pin will fit, so maybe I'll use that one. I just want to do a test fit here and see what the squish is like. If it's just too tight, it's just too tight. But if the squish is good, then I may just put this together and see if she runs. You know what I mean? In which case, we'll be getting a pop today. That'd be cool. Oh, that's the wrong piston. That's the correct one. Again, this piston's a little scratched. Okay, so it's a lot scratched. But should still give me compression. There, this piston is what I want to use. Get this wrist pin out, which may or may not be easy. The Wiseco pistons? Yeah, if you want to use them, but they're really expensive. Not going to say no. I don't, again, I'm not racing like that, so I'm not as worried about that sort of thing. You know what I mean? This is still awfully tight. I mean, just tightest wrist pen ever. I think I need to open these up a little bit, otherwise it's gonna be a problem. I just need to open up just a shape. It's just too tight. You don't want the wrist pin to, you know, fall through, but you have to physically be able to get it in there. Use a piece of emery here in my, I'll call this a mandrel. It's a split mandrel. I'll show you in a second. Hang on. Sorry, guys. There we go. Oh, the problem is it's just not strong. Okay, just need to open up the hole a little bit so the stinking wrist pen goes in there. Emery probably half a thousandth is all you need. That's better. Yeah, Wiseco will make custom pistons too, but if you need something, they'll make you a custom piston. It's just going to cost you like crazy. Okay, Shin, take care. Thanks for coming by, man. Shoot me an email, okay? And I will get back to you. All right, let's see. Next question is, will this piston fit? So all these steps, like, you can't just slap something together. It doesn't work. Especially a hybrid. Go in there and shine it up. Make sure it's shiny. I'll give this a really good wash later, but this head did get a little messed up. Go get dressed. Yeah. Take care, Will. Thanks for coming by. It's just a lot of work into this head, so... Right, I forgot to get the rings on here. Sometimes it's easier to take the rings off and just check squish, you know? There's one. Sometimes it's easier to just take the rings off when you're checking squish. And these are thin, so these are going to pop off pretty easy. These are cabers. They might actually be cabers that fit 660. All right. What I should do is go over all the stuff that's been done to this particular head in order to get it to fit the whole hybrid thing, you know. There's a bunch of stuff. Okay, so it's not a head slapper. Feels good. Check squish. Get all your running done? No. Running? What are you kidding? No running. I've had too much going on in my life lately. I'm not doing any of that. Now, let's see. $22,000. Seems fine to me. Okay. So now that we know that, that's good. Okay, so we have a squish number. That's good. So put the rings in it, put the head on, and start assembling this whole darn thing. That would make sense, huh? Gotta find some head bolts. Those are a little too short. Let's put all these out. My bag of goodies here. Steel. So if you don't have a pile of steel bolts, you need one, obviously. There we go. 4 head bolts. That'll do. Yep. For what we're doing here, that'll be fine. Okay. Next thing to do, get all this cleaned off. I'm gonna go wash the head. I'll be right back. So, a number of things were done to this particular head. One thing that was done, I actually ground off like more than 1/8 of an inch, about 3/16 of an inch here on the exhaust. I cut these fins off to make the top cover fit. Had to grind a little over here on the fins to make that fit. The other thing I had to do, I opened up these holes here to actually make room for a driver to go down to actually tighten head bolts. Need to do that. No base gasket on this. Usually I like to run a gasket, but on this it would be involved. So I'm gonna not run a gasket on this. Wrist pins are the death of me. So there is a reason why I'm taking this off again. One, I'm going to put a little bit of oil. There. Two, I'm going to put a lot of oil here, here, here. It's just 2-cycle oil that I have in a can. I'll have to install the seal later, but no worries about that. Again, this piston is scratched up, but again, this is also just an experiment, so not really that worried about it. I did oil the pin. These are Farmer Tech pistons. This is not. I actually tried a highway piston because they are available for big bore, but the skirts are too short. So, not going to work. How's that for interesting? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to install the piston in the head here. Because it's actually easiest to do it this way. Get the rings all compressed with your fingers and whatnot. Good. You can actually verify like that everything's good. Push it in a little bit, all that stuff. Make sure they're going the correct direction, all that jazz. Okay. All this has got, all these steps got to be just right. Clean and degreased. because you're doing a gasket delete. So these surfaces have to be clean and degreased. Okay. Let's get out our Loctite here for our head bolts. Bond here. Now I'm going to put the 3-bond actually on the head first. Super light coat. And the hardest thing about this is actually getting the ring or the circlip in, which we'll do in a minute. Super light coat. Okay. Let that tag for just a minute. So now I need to find the other circlip. Should be there, might not be. Who knows where it is? Maybe it disappeared. No, there's my case bolts. They're the same. It doesn't really matter. All right. So let's find. While that's tacking, you put things away. Let's find that circlip. That'll do. Get out my clip pliers. Okay, so we basically let that tack. Let this tack. Doesn't need much. So like I said, the trickiest part is going to be getting that circlip in here post insertion. Let's see what happens. Good. That's set there. Again, nothing wrong with letting the 1184 here cure. See, it's still a little bit light. Great, where did it go? Oh, no. Can't find something, time to start putting things away. Look on your magnets. This rubber piece here can just go in like that at any time. Oh my God, really? Really? Down there. Oh, sitting right here. I just camouflaged. Okay, going out of my mind. Okay. Now, if you are not absolutely adept at circlips, this will be very difficult. And if you are not 100% lucky, this will be quite difficult. Sometimes you get lucky. Now it had to have fit here before. That's the right size clip. Maybe the OEM wrist pin is a little too the OEM wrist pin might be slightly too long. Because it's sure all the way this way. You'll measure twice, cut once. Push out. Why would the OEM wrist pin be any different? Stupid. A millimeter longer? Millimeter too long? Yeah, it's coming. Okay. So we can grab it with pliers now. Tight wrist pin. Here's the Farmer Tech wrist pin. The OEM wrist pins are better because they're lighter. Are you kidding? Gotta keep tapping. Fine. Friggin' real. Well, there's a clip in there that also, you know, to use a dowel. Cheat a little bit, use the ring compressors. I'll just put the wrist pin back in here. That was in here, but let's see if there's a measurement difference, because this is stupid for me to not be able to get the clip in because something's half a millimeter too long. Come on. Yep, there's a difference. Okay. Well, that fits a little better. Okay, that seats. Still here. Yeah, I'm still here. Futzing around with stupidity. It looked to me like the OEM wrist pin was going to be fine, but obviously not. So click. Perfect. Click, click, as it should. Already be. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or don't go in, you know. Okay, so I've got the rings are in, the clips are in, got squish checked. is all tight because the screws are tight on the head. So you need to actually modify the bolt pattern on the head just to get these things in. Don't have a head slapper. Should be able to put it together. Stem in. Usually put the pin clip piston side. Yeah, it depends. Like some days it's easier to do over here. Some days it's easier to do over here. The Stihl screws should have serrated underside caps. Yep, they do. Now I need to get a I like the highway kits. Not going to need that seal though. It's already done. The only seal you need to do now is this one. I'm not even going to put any 518 on here. I'm just going to seat that down nice and gentle. What I should do though is double check here and make sure that the spring is in here. Yep, that's fine. So, this is not intended as a seal driver, but you can indeed use it as such. Just be careful. I'm just going to drive this down flush. And I don't drive it all the way home with that. Need something a little more body to it. That way it's even all the way around. That's that. Done. You can put Loctite 518 around there and all that other stuff if you feel like it. Yeah, Stihl, I might actually get this pop today. I wasn't necessarily thinking it, but it's possible. I mean, now just plug and play here, kind of. Stihl and highway seals, all that stuff. Highway seals are okay. Yeah, I like the kit. The highway kit, nice. It comes as a kit, so I think that helps. Let's go over to here and start pulling parts off of here. Okay. So this rubber mount I gotta do. good. It's all oily anyway, so this will go right in. Good. Oh, there's a rubber mount here towards the back, right there. That's going to be a bit of a trick. While we're doing the coil's over here, let's do the coil. Wires go through. Gonna need to come back to gapping the coil later. Okay, let's get this rubber mount. We'll do the top rubber mount while we've got this going. The only other thing I think we need to pull off of here, yeah, just a rubber mount. Maybe pull the brass nipple out of there too, just to scavenge something. And it's amazing how many times you need little tiny parts like that stupid brass nipple. So I like to scavenge all that stuff. And we can tighten down that later. Right now, pulling this rubber piece out is not going to be fun, I don't think. Or at least getting it in, the new one is not going to be fun. That's going to be like near impossible to push home. Fire it up. Yeah, I know. You wasted the new cases. So yeah, these cases I'm throwing out. This crank is done. I'm just throwing. I did bad everything around here, so I'm going to get rid of it. Let's see if that brass nipple pops. Might not. No, doesn't want to come out. Forget it. Goodbye. Okay. So this rubber mount needs to go down here. But the odds of me squeezing that in is going to be exceptionally low. Let's see. Usually for this, use like the nylon string trick, but this is a whole other ball game of tight. They could have, I think the 660 has like a screw-on version of this, which is 1,000 times easier. OEM Husky has like tabs on these. But it's the little stuff like this that ends up taking up, I think, the most amount of time. I got some of it through. Looks like some of it came through already. Just pushing on it with a screwdriver here, which is like the easiest way to wreck the rubber. Yeah, part of it came through. There. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This one would be expensive. If somebody wants it, it's gonna have to be expensive because the amount of time and the detail you have to pay attention to come up with something like this is kind of nuts. The thing, I've never done this before, you know. You know, big bore hybrid. I don't know. I'm just as in the dark on this as you guys are, and that's why it's fun to put these together with you guys so that I have input and we build the saw together, you know? I think that's cool. Other stuff out here. Here's the flywheel nut. The flywheel nut go. Okay. Maybe I'll just use a Husky flywheel nut. That'll work fine. Yep, that'll be fine. Don't forget the remarks either. It's basically all OEM Stihl and Husky Varna. Basically, yeah. Basically all OEM. Be careful what we say. Could get into trouble. We don't want to get into trouble. Good. Now we gap it. Yeah, if you slap together a $300 clone and sell it for $1,200, I don't know. That seems, you could say that that's a bit much. Okay. But if you're adding OEM parts to it, you can start to justify that a little bit more. Stihl Varna. It's a Stihl Varna. It's a Stavarna. Yeah, I don't know if I'd get away with that. Maybe some guys do, you know. If you do, more power to you. Just gonna put the brand new right here, just for a moment. All right, gapped, torqued. Guess we can get the kind of dirty, but oh well. There's plenty of people that are selling things that, I mean, actually, if you guys want to harass somebody, go just start harassing people that are selling used chainsaws unrebuilt for $1 bajillion. Because there's a lot of that out there. That stuff drives me kind of crazy. And worse, there's dummies like me that pay it. Yeah, I try to sell my stuff for top dollar, but usually there's a bajillion hours into it. You know, it's the guys that are trying to get top dollar for stuff that they haven't done anything to. You know, they think their whatever is worth a pot of gold. No. Okay, that AV mounts in. The AV mounts are good. Alright, let's do impulse line. Not quite ready, so let's get trying to get the intake here. And again, you can actually use like the nylon string trick for this too. I've showed that before. Make sure your impulse line goes in. Yeah, there's plenty of case for not selling any chainsaws. You know, I sell them just to keep things moving. If I run into a problem where I start, you know, where I stop selling, then that's kind of bad, because I'll just never sell anything, and that's, you know, really not good. And the stuff I build, generally I like people to run. It's generally something that's like, yeah, run it, you know. Don't. I'm not building shelf queens. That's not the idea. And I'm missing something. This stuff. Alright, go back and get some of this. We might get a pop. We might. Okay. Inner ring here on the carburetor. The intake rather. Outer ring. Now I've got a OEM carburetor here. Somewhere. That's not good. Brand new, basically brand new OEM carburetor. Fuel line. Go in there proper, and impulse line. Yep, it fits both. Good. And we put the throttle on. Not the best throttle design. Just pops in there. The white and the black wires. These are just spade connectors. One thing that helped a lot with functionality here was going to an OEM multifunction switch. It's just much tighter tolerances on that, and it just works so butter smooth. The aftermarket one did not work well at all. this goes on here. Yep. Put the clutch fully on. Yeah, it was this piece. The aftermarket one is complete junk, so. The OEM one works perfect. Two 8mm screws. Neglecting everybody, sorry. Perfect. Good functionality there. So impulse line is connected. The boot's connected. You just keep buttoning things up here. There's already an exhaust gasket on here, so I don't really need to change that out. Hopefully just plug and play from now on, because all these other pieces did fit at one time. Ah, the third deflector. I forgot the deflector. Anybody that looks at this saw is going to be like, ah, the piston's all messed up. Yeah, well, oh well. Okay. Now, the exhaust I've already opened up previously. It's not huge open, but it's pretty open. Could probably do a little more on that. I need the other piece to go there, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3 short screws, I think. Just start putting stuff together. So this is an OEM Elasto start handle. Yeah, there's quite a bit of OEM stuff here. This AV mount needs this screw. Okay. Put the washer there, and then put the screw. Okay, finally, upper AV mount. The lower AV mounts. Keep going. We're going. Probably the brake handle next. Okay, so this piece, I forget. The little spring. Okay. There's that. Little E-clip. Maddie used titanium and Kevlar pattern. Be nice, William. Cooter, hey, love your channel. Thanks, man. Sorry, I'm in the zone here of building. Should be more in the zone of hanging out with you guys, because that's what I really like. But titanium, yeah, whatever. You guys. All right. Does this go down next? I forget. What do they call the actor? Great, I shouldn't have put on the starter cover. Oops. Whatever. is that not going on? It should fall on. Oh, I know, my bad. That little thing's in the way. That little thing's in the way. Just have to make sure this metal piece is now good. Yeah. There. Better. Perfect. Now we're going to put this E-clip here. Put it over here somewhere. Right on this guy here. Get that to sit down. Okay, E-clip is on. So that should all fit down in there, just like that. E-clip, E-clip, spring, grab here. Now this has got to get over there, which I do have a tool for, courtesy of the Sarge. But this tool might actually be a little bit the wrong size. So I think I'll use a screwdriver instead. Perfect. Okay. Under here, one small M4 screw under here. Steve Schaff, how's it going? Welcome. We are almost ready for a pop here. I think we're going to do it. Take a couple more minutes, but we're nearly there. Clutch. Go on. Okay. And I forgot the backing to the clutch. Darn it. Okay, doesn't need to be on super tight. Where's the oiler worm? I can't see it. I'll have to. Whoa. Something's not right there with the brake band. It's not sitting right or something. Hang on. There we go. Good. Got an 8-pin rim here. And yes, this will fit. Okay, good. Good. Yep. Be right up. Just a few minutes, okay? It's time to go sledding with the kids here. Gotta see. We gotta get a pop first. Go sledding. So I took 3 millimeters off the bushing, and it sure looks like that will be enough. other stuff I can add. But for right now, handle on. She pulls over. Just old gas here. Oh yeah. There's your pop. Anybody want it for $1,200? So there's plenty more to do. I gotta shore this all up, but put the spikes on and whatnot. But I think we'll call it for the morning. That's enough for the day. Thanks very much for hanging out. For all the guys that have hung out, that's a lot of work. We did a lot of work today. So conclusions. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in order to make a hybrid. Case modifications, cylinder head modifications, porting, all that other stuff. I think so far the takeaway here is I think the Husky bearing idea really works. So I'm really excited about that, and I want to investigate that further, but I'd love to get this thing fully running and off to Mason for some testing, and yeah, that'll be hopefully the highlight of the afternoon. I'm going to go hang out with the kids for a little bit, and then I will shore the rest of this up, and then if there's anything else that I notice, I will let you know. I have two heads coming, 262 and the 660. I have a case gasket waiting for me over at the other place at the Stihl dealer. So that's for Sammy's 026 Pro. So I've got a number of things to do here going forward. So, yep, email me, matty05@AOL.com. Thanks, Craig. Do appreciate that. So, no, this is not the free tools for Christmas. But if anybody wants tools, they can email me. Best way to support the channel, email me. Thanks, guys. Do appreciate it. Have a great afternoon, evening, whatever. Be safe out there in the snow. And we'll be back on as soon as I possibly can. Later, guys. Bye.